Hi Serena, welcome back.
Hi.
She thought you're going to graduate at Form 6 last May and June, so she's helping out again. In California, it's 10 o'clock at night. Okay, that's why I want you guys to be on time so we can start. They've been waiting. Okay, thank you Serena for helping us again. Is there anyone else?
I can go.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Stuart and I'm a junior at Valencia High School. And I've been in voice of calling for about 2 years.
They've been in coding school for 2 years. 4 years. What's your name? I couldn't hear you well.
I'm Sua Kim.
Latin. Okay. Thank you for helping. Okay, so we have, is there anyone else or should we introduce ourselves?
Yeah, my name's Paik. I'm currently in a car right now, so I can't. I'm sorry if it's kind of hard to hear me. But to introduce myself, I'm a junior at Harvard Westlake, and I've been voice of calling for a little over a year now, I believe.
Do you know if you can set up a microphone?
No, but we can.
Okay, okay. If they want to see their face.
Yes, one by one.
Okay, so I couldn't hear your name, the last person, what's your name?
My name is Taeon Paik.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you for helping. Okay, so we have 4 students here ready to learn, and I'm gonna ask them to introduce themselves to you so you can meet them with the face. So, one by one, why don't you come up here because that's a screen that they can see. And then clearly, you have to slow down. My name is this. I just finished 10th grade. Okay, learn 10th grade. Form 4 is a 10th grade in America. Okay? And what do you want to do in maybe quickly in your school? So we are going to help students introduce themselves. Okay?
Yeah.
Say hi.
Hi, my name is
Hello.
my name is Alan Nicolaus. I'm from Maranatha Mission School. I came for studies. I'm a 10th grade graduate.
What your name again?
Alan Nicholas.
Ellen Nicholas.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So they just finished secondary school. Secondary school means in America 10th grade. So 10th grade is the most education in Tanzania education system. Junior and senior is optional to them, okay, once they pass the exam. And these are the students who pass the exam. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Eric Gasper. I graduate from St. Jude.
Say it louder, louder. Your name is?
My name is Eric Gasper. I graduate from St. Jude, 10th grade. I'm here to learning Python programming.
Okay, what do you want to be later? Or combination?
My future combination is PMC, which are learning artificial intelligence and cybersecurity systems.
Okay, thank you. What was your name? Ericas? You know what? We are making a list of the students and we will share it in either Discord or send the email to some of you, okay? So it's hard to localize their name, okay? We have a girl student here.
Hi there, my name is Eda Howard Moisemba. I have finished my 10th grade. I am 17. My future career, I want to be a doctor in future. But here, I am here to study about Python programming because I am interested in it. Thank you.
What's your name?
Eda.
Eda. Her name is Eda. E-D-A. Okay?
Hi, my name is Frank Christian Mgeta. I'm from Elboru Secondary School. I completed my 10th grade this year. I'm here to learn more about programming. I'm expecting to become a system architect. That's all.
Which
Frank Christian,
Frank? From
Elboru.
Ilboro. So Serena, do you remember we had a student from Ilboro? Okay, here's another student from Ilboro. His name is Frank, but he graduated Form 4. Last time it was Form 6. Okay, thank you. You know how I project sound higher? On purpose. I can just talk like this. But I am saying hi, right? So that they can hear. You have to have that attitude. If you have a question, they can hear you. All Tanzanians like that. My name is Frank. My name is Frank. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Please express yourself loud enough so that they can hear you. You exist here. You want to hide? Okay, so I think time is 20 minutes past 8. And did they all set up the Discord?
No, because they just came today.
Yeah.
Only this one has this one.
Oh, really? We had 3. All of them are not here? Nehemiah, not here.
Nehemiah is not here yet.
Yeah. Huh?
Nehemiah is not here yet.
I know. We got this and
So maybe we, for today, find out whether they can learn. Then tomorrow they can join. And then after the session, we set up this one. Because we have to set up the email.
why don't you talk?
And then
So we had set up Discord for 4 students yesterday, and only 1 is here, and then we had 3 new additions. So either we wait or to set up Discord, or you guys can introduce introduction now, and then after session is over, 1.5 hours, then we can help them to set up Discord. How's that? That's what they are suggesting.
Yeah.
Mr. Heriel is our teacher here, so you can communicate what you want to do. Okay?
Yeah, so I think for today maybe we can find a way that we can learn so that they see like the group teaching, and then later I will set up Discord for every one of them, because some of them even don't have emails. So I have to set up email and then Discord, and then tomorrow they'll be joining like the groups. Is that fine?
Hey, that sounds good. Is
Yeah.
today? Yeah.
Can they see our screen if we share still? On one screen, will they be able to see?
Wale utasikiliza kidogo huko alafu fanya maswala mengi. Unaweza kumwambia mwenzako aje? Mpe chat.
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and get started.
I guess I can get started. Yeah. Or yeah. Okay. So let me share my screen right now. Can you guys see this? Yeah, I think other people should turn off their cameras so that it reduces lag. Yeah. Ariel, can you see this?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Yeah. So let me get started. So once again, my name is Roy Park, and welcome to the second season of Fugitive Tanzania. Okay. So this is our website called for Voice of Calling, and our motto here is to teach students through computer science, and we have mainly done so through coding camps here, where we taught Python and Scratch, and this time we'll also be teaching Python as well. So one main resource that we'll be using to teach Python will be W3 Schools. And as you see here, there are a lot of tutorials for other programming languages as well. So if you guys want to check this out, then you can do it at a later time. But for today and for rest of the month, we'll be using this Python tutorial as our main lesson. And if you see on the side here, these are all like the basic concepts of Python, and we'll go through most of them here. So the second website that we'll be using is called learnpython.org, and this is more of like for exercises after we learn concepts, and then that's when you'll be able to do some sample exercises here. Yeah, and after Python, we might also be able to do machine learning if you have time, but that's for later. Okay, let's see. And the other thing that we like the students should practice is typing, because typing is necessary when we're programming. So there's some resources related to typing here. One's called NitroType. You guys can search that up later, and then you guys can make an account, and then it's a typing game where you'll be able to improve your words per minute. Another resource is called typing.com, and this is also where you have to make an account. Just sign up, and then you'll be able. You can sign up as a student, and you'll be able to learn how to type faster. And throughout each coding camp day, we'll have some homework there. And if you guys need any help after that, we can also. Oh, can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So after the lesson's over, if you guys need help after, then there's also some YouTube videos that we have uploaded. If you guys go to our channel, search up Python and then Voice of Calling, and that's where you can find like more like additional resources. And once again, the class starts from December 5th. So today from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then all the way up to December 23rd. So it'll be every Tuesday to every Friday. Yeah. And I just hope that we have a fun time together, and I hope you guys will be able to learn a lot. And that's our orientation.
Thank you.
Then we'll be introducing you to the new teacher here. Yeah. Okay, so I'll be turning off my camera, and then our new teacher is Taeyeon.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. But speak louder. Speak louder. Okay, better.
Yes.
Yes. So if you haven't, so are you taking it to download it or
No, no, no.
interactive?
Yeah.
Interactive. Later.
They don't have to download.
Huh?
They don't have to
Oh,
download.
okay. But it's all downloaded
Yes.
on our host machine.
Yes.
Yeah, you can proceed.
Así son pues reglas de perfil. Vamos a
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So Harriet, you have to answer. Does this show on the Discord? These things what he's showing now? No?
So they are not connected. Tomorrow they so that's why.
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Sean. I will also be helping Tay teach this. I just wanted to let you guys know that these things that we are talking about, such as Creative Studio and such, are extra resources for us to practice Python. So for now, we will be using W3 Schools, but it is good if you guys do have those programs set up. And back to Tay.
1 second, please. Okay, so if you have a note, you can jot down these things. It will become part of your nature. Okay, don't worry. It may be new to you, but lots of resources are available. You just need to know about it. And they're all free. They're just pulling out. So 3 things. w3school.com has all the curriculum. You can just follow on your own, right? But they're leading you. And onlinepython.com is to teach you coding. The other one, code.visualstudio.com, is to compile your coding. Okay? So now it's new, but you can just use it. Click here, compile. Click here, what's the lesson? Click, click. It's going to be so easy after a couple of days. Okay? But so that's why it's important that you need to show up at the right time so that you don't miss anything. They just go, 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 go. Okay? Okay, Sean, go ahead.
Actually, Kay will be doing this. I was just trying to help clarify because, yeah, I just wanted to make sure everyone understood what's actually happening. Yes. Sorry.
Okay?
Umeelewa anasemaje? Ah, basi mna flow tu. Simone online. They are writing now.
Hey guys, it's okay if you're wrong. Don't be shy. Just say the answer. It's all part of the learning process. So even if it is wrong, we will help you and we will help teach you. That's why we're here. So don't be afraid and just say whatever answer that you think might be right.
Oh, sorry. So they answered, but they are a little bit far from the laptop, so maybe you cannot hear clearly.
I'm really sorry then.
They say print. Yeah, they are. So the computers they are using and the laptop I'm using to projecting is they are somehow far. So I will be taking the answers and tell you. Yeah, they said print.
Which is basically where we're being introduced to Python. To explain a little bit, Python is a popular programming language. It's one of the many coding languages that we use to code, and it's also one of the first programming languages that a lot of people uh, start off with, just because of how friendly like the syntax is. So it's one of the easiest languages to learn really quickly, which is why we're learning Python right now. And some uses for it include web development, software development, mathematics, and system scripting. And it was created by this person, uh, whose name I will not pronounce, and it was released in 1991. And yeah, as you see here, Python was designed for readability, so it's very similar to the English language, which is going to help us learn, which is going to help make the learning process a little bit easier as opposed to other coding languages. So that's sort of a brief introduction to what Python is. And now we will get started with actually learning about Python. So first, we just talked about how if we do print with all lowercase letters and parentheses and then quotation marks and then whatever sentence, then and we press run, and we're going to see that sentence at the bottom here. Next, we're going to learn about Python indentation. And these examples use a topic that we haven't learned about yet. But in Python, we can add spaces, because indentation is basically like a space that you can add at the start of a line. We'll get more into the specifics and the details later when we actually learn about these topics, and so that we can like actually start using indentation. But for now, it's not that very important. So we will skip over it for now. Does anyone have any questions so far?
No, they are fine.
No? Okay. So next, we're going to learn about Python variables. And a simple way to explain variables would be to think of them as containers for different types of information. So for example, this example here shows a variable called x, and we store the information 5 inside of it. on the second line, we see that we created a variable called y, and then we set this hello world. We stored that information inside the variable y. Okay. And you will also learn more about what you can do with variables later on. So whenever you want to create a variable and store information inside of it, you can basically use any name. So let's say we want to call it, we want to call our variable name. We would write the name of our variable, and then we would put equals, and then we would whatever information we want to inside. So just as an example, for now, I'm going to store my name in the variable. And later on, we're going to learn about what we can do to use this variable. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions so far?
Tay, can I ask a question?
Sure.
For the variables, does a certain variable always have to hold the same thing, or can the insides of the thing change?
So is it a question for students or to
No,
the
I was
presenter?
I was asking that to Tay, because I just wanted to make sure it was clear to the students. Yes. Oh, I just was trying to help clarify by asking, what can the variables change what they are holding, and if so, is there any like limitations to that?
Hamna mtu ana swali kabisa? Tujaelewa. So there's a question. Now.
How can variable be used? My name is Eric. I have a question. How can be variable used? Yes.
Excuse me, Ted. Wait, actually, Harry, can you see Taeyeon's screen right now?
Yes.
Okay. But is it frozen or?
Maybe if we can try to do something because.
Okay. Yeah,
It might
because
be
from our
fine.
side, we can't really see the screen, so I was just wondering if you guys can see it as well.
Yeah, it's like something I want to click some Wi-Fi, right? And it's just frozen there.
Okay. Yeah, and I think your screen is frozen, Ted.
You can try like resharing it, maybe.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
If that's good, we're gonna move on to comments. As it says here, Python has commenting capability for the purpose of in-code documentation. Okay, and there are several different types of comments, which we will get into the next section right here in Python comments. But the most basic one is we can start the comment with a hashtag, which on your keyboard is Shift 3, I believe. And by doing this, we can sort of comment what we want to about our code. Usually, most beginners don't really use commenting because it's not very useful. But later, when, for example, you start to write more longer and complicated codes, then commenting starts to become more and more useful for the sake of being more organized. And whatever you write in this comment is not going to be like considered code. So you can technically write whatever you want to inside this comment. Oh yeah, and if you start the comment with a hashtag, it's only considered a single line comment. So to show you, let's say we wanted to write a comment saying Python is awesome. If we wanted to write a comment for several lines, using the hashtag once will not do that. So on the next line, let's say we wanted to write Python is awesome again. You can see that the color is already different, which means that this is not a comment. So basically, if you're using a hashtag, it is only a single line comment. Okay? But if you wanted to use a multi-line comment, where you can comment for several lines, then you would want to do something else, and we're going to get into that right now. But before we get into that, does anyone have any questions about this basic single line comment?
Na mtu ana swali? Ukiuliza kwa Kiswahili mimi najibu kwa Kiingereza, nauliza kwa Kiingereza. Una swali? Uko sawa, sio? Yeah, no question.
No questions? Okay. If that's the case, I'm gonna Okay, yeah. Never mind. We already did this one. We're gonna move on to. Never mind. We're gonna continue actually learning about comments. So just now I explained how we can create a single line comment by starting it with a hashtag. This example, we make our comment we dedicate like a whole line to one comment, but we can also add a comment at the end of a code. So here we see that this first part is Python, right? And it's going to print hello world. But whenever you see this hashtag, that means that it's a comment after. What comes after is a comment. So you can choose to either put this on a separate line, like the first example, or you can also put it on the same line as another line of code. This example uses, or it explains how we can use another way that we can use comments, and that is to can also be used to prevent Python from executing code. So let's say we wanted to print we love Python after we are future of Tanzania, and we run the code, but maybe let's say we actually don't want to run the first line, but we don't want to erase it either, because maybe we want to use it later on for another purpose. In that case, you can just add a hashtag in the front, and the code is not going to run. This line of code is not going to run, and it's only going to print "We love Python," because now, since there's a hashtag, this whole thing is considered a comment. So instead of erasing it, we can also just add a hashtag in the front. And as you can see at the bottom, we see that it only prints "We love Python." Okay, and any questions so far?
No question.
No questions? Okay. Moving on. As I explained earlier, a hashtag can only be used for single line comments. So whatever we write after the hashtag, or whatever line that comes after the hashtag, not going to be considered a comment. But one way that we can make a multi-line comment is by doing like hashtag for every line. So let's say we wanted to comment this is one way to comment over several lines, but there's also a much simpler way that we can do this. Instead of putting a hashtag at the start of every line, we can also add 3 quotation marks at the start and at the end of our comment. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to do the same thing as what we did on lines 1 through 4, but this time instead of doing a hashtag at the start of every line, which can be sort of annoying at times, we can just add 3 quotation marks at the start and at the back and just keep going. So whatever is in between these quotation marks is going to be considered a multi-line comment. And for these quotation marks, in Python, you can sort of use the double quotation marks and single quotation marks interchangeably. So let's say you wanted to use single quotation marks instead of double quotation marks, then you can do that. And in this example that I gave earlier, I use double quotation marks, but you can also use single quotation marks for this one as well. But you have to make sure that you're using it consistently. So you can't have you can't start with a single quotation mark and then end with a double quotation mark. Or I guess you technically can, but it's better to be consistent. So that is one thing about Python. And now we're gonna start an exercise for comments. So this exercise says, comments in Python are written with a special character. Which one? So looking at my previous examples, what's a character that we have to use to write a comment? Answers?
They did say the hashtag, so I think we can move on.
They did. Am I lagging? Or can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
We can
Okay.
hear you. Don't worry.
Okay, so the next exercise, use a multi-line string to make this a multi-line comment. So what would we have to put at the start and at the end?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Me? Wait, what?
Hey Tay, can you hear us?
You got disconnected.
I'll take over for him for a second. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sean, before you say something.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Harriel, there's like a lot of notification sounds, right? So you can mute them if you want to. So if you go to behind scene and live lecture notes, and you right click on it, you can see the mute channel. Yes, you can show that on your Discord.
Roy, fine. Go on now.
Oh, they're fine. Okay.
Okay, so can everyone still see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. In the chat, I did see that you guys said. Let me check. Give me a quick second, please. I did notice that you guys said double quotations and then double quotations, but if we were to do that, it would not work because what we need right now is consistency. That means the top has to be the same as the bottom. So that means the top has to be 3 and the bottom has to be 3 double quotation marks. You can use single quotation marks, but in this case I use double quotation marks because on the top I already used double quotation marks in this sense. So if we submit it, voila, it works. This is the next thing that we're gonna move on to, called variables. So what is a variable? So like Tay said a few minutes ago, a variable is a container for storing data values. So what are these data values? Data values are things that we put in to certain placeholders, such as numbers, words, and true or false values. Those are different types of data types, which I will go into. But first, I feel like we need to learn how to make a variable. So if we see here, Python has no command for declaring a variable. That means unlike other languages, we can just write the name of the variable, write an equal sign, and write the value that we want in it. So let's say I want to put a number, and I want the variable name to be x, as we see here. So what do? Simply, I just write x equals 5. However, let's say I want to make another variable, y, and I want to make that equal to the word John. Notice how I said the word John. That means I have to put double quotation marks or single quotation marks around the word that I want to put. And then if you print it out, you should get 5 and John as we see here. If you run it, this is just an example like this. Let's say I want to change X into another word. Let's say coding. So what do? I delete the 5, put a quotation mark, write the word that I want, coding, put the ending quotation mark. I'm just going to delete this line for the sake of just thinking. And then if you think about it, X is holding the value coding. So if I were to print X, instead of just getting X, I will get coding. Give it a second, please. You get coding because X is a placeholder, something that replaces the word coding because coding is kind of long to write and X is just a simpler form of writing that. Okay, and so that's how you create a variable. Tay, I see that you're back. Do you want to take over again?
Yeah, I could try, but my Wi-Fi is like lagging a lot. So
Yeah, don't worry. If it happens again, I'll continue.
yeah. Okay, so I'm assuming while I was gone, you did this example, John?
Yeah, we just went over how to create variables. You can just go off of there.
Okay. So Sean and I earlier, we just talked about how we can create a variable by uh, putting the name of the variable and then putting an equal sign after, and then putting whatever information that we want to store in it after the equation, the equal sign. And now in this section, we're going to talk more about how we can use these variables now. So this example, we see that there's a variable called x, and inside that variable, we store the number 5. And we also have another variable called y, and in that variable, we're going to store the name John. Basically, what lines 18 and 19 are going to do, as Sean explained, is that they're going to print x and they're going to print y. But they're not just going to print the letter x and the letter y. They're actually going to print 5 and John. And the reason why is because this x doesn't refer to the letter x, but it refers to the name of this variable. And it's the same exact thing for line 19. This letter y doesn't refer to the alphabet y, but it's referring to the variable that we created on line 17. So if we run this code, oh yeah. Oops. If we run the code, then we're going to see that we get 5 and John in the console. Yeah. Next. Next, we're going to be talking about casting. And basically, there are get a little bit ahead of this section. There are four basic data types in Python, and they're called, we have strings, integers, floats, and booleans. And basically, what casting does is casting changes a type of information into another type of information. So, oh yeah, and to explain what each of these data types are, strings are basically anything that's surrounded by quotation marks. So, for example, this variable y would be considered a string. Integers, they're sort of self-explanatory. Integers are just numbers, positive or negative, including 0. So, for example, 5 would be an integer. Floats are the same thing as integers, except they have decimal numbers and they have a decimal point. So variable z would be an example of a float. And for now, we're not going to get into booleans, but just know that they are a thing. So now that we know like the three sort of basic data types, I'm going to explain what casting actually does. So basically, casting is where we take, for example, a string, and then we turn it into like a different data type. Or let's say we want to take an integer and we want to turn it to a string. Then we want to use casting. And it might not be really clear why we want to turn data types into different data types, but for now, just know that uh, the string function, so we're basically casting whatever is inside into a string, is abbreviated by str. So we are basically going to take this number 3 and turn it into a string. And basically, that's going to turn it into a 3 with quotation marks around it. On line 10, we take 3 and then we turn it into an integer. But since it already is an integer, it's still going to be 3. For line 11, we are changing number the integer 3 to a float. So instead of just 3, it's actually going to be called 3.0, since floats have to have like a decimal point. Okay, so yeah, casting is basically where we're changing from one data type to another. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Kuna swali? No question.
No questions? Okay. Okay. So now we're going to get into the type function. This is a little related to the basic data types. The type function is going to give us what data type something is. So let's say we have like a variable. We have some information stored in a variable, and we want to know what data type that information is. In that case, you can do print and then type. Let's say we want to know data type of x, the variable x. In that case, we can do print the type of x. And what the type function does is it returns the data type of some information. So it's going to end up printing that x is an integer. So if I run the code, you can see that it's going to say class int. And basically that's going to mean that, oh yeah, and int is short for integer. So basically this is going to mean that the variable x is an integer. Just to give you guys another example, we can change x with y. What do you think is going to print in the console if I run the code now? What do you think this is going to print in the console?
I see the printing in agak kawaii. Eh? So they say the string.
Yeah, string would be correct. So let's run the code, and we see that it says class str, which is short for string, so string is correct. Okay, so hopefully the type function makes sense. Does anyone have any questions?
No question.
No questions? Okay. So single or double quotes. So this is like basically what I explained earlier. In Python, you can either choose to use double quotes or single quotes, but you just have to be sure to be consistent. So you can't start with one or the other, or I mean, like you can't start with one and end with the other. So you just have to stay consistent and use the same one for the start and at the end. But whatever you use is up to you. Whatever is more comfortable for you, you can use. And Python is also case sensitive. And what that means is that capitalization is important in Python. So let's say instead of doing like a lowercase p for print, let's say you did capital P. If you run the code, you're going to see an error. And the reason why is because capitalizing letters in Python makes a big difference. So that's one example of how you have to make sure to use the correct capitalization. Another example that they give here is they create a variable called little a equals 4, and the big letter A is equal to Sally. These two things, these two variables, they don't refer to the same variable. So these two are different things. Even though they're the same letter, they're different cases. So they're going to refer to a different variable. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Swali lolote? No question.
No questions? Okay. Um, okay. Next section. Variable names. So earlier I said that you can basically name your variable whatever you want to, but that was sort of that was kind of a lie. And to be truthful, there are some restrictions as to how you can name your variable. Usually, this is not really a problem because you can just use letters and it would be fine. But some things to keep in mind is that you have to start a variable name with a letter or the underscore character. So, for example, you can't start with a number, you can't start with a hashtag or dollar sign. You have to start with a letter, with either a letter or an underscore. A second thing to keep in mind, as I said earlier, you can't start with a number, only a letter or an underscore. Third, you can only have letters, numbers, and underscores inside the variable. So in the last example here, we see that you can add a number, and it's fine to add numbers only when it's not at the very start of the variable name. So if you were to put 2 at the front here, then it wouldn't work. But since we have it at the back, it's totally fine to add the number 2. And as I explained about Python being case sensitive, these 3 variable names are different variables. Okay, so capitalization changes what variable that we're referring to. So these are all different. And here we have some examples of variable names that we cannot use. Here we start with a number, so we can't use this variable name. For the second example, we have a dash, so we can't use this one. In the third example, we have a space, so we can't use this one either. I guess I'll talk about this as well. So let's say you wanted to create a variable, but you can't really describe it in one word. For example, let's say you wanted to create a variable that stores the age of a specific person. So let's say age of mom. In that case, you're using 3 different words to describe one variable. So, and since we can't just use a space, because of course that's not allowed, we can try to use these 3 spaces to sort of describe the variable. So the first type is called camel casing, where you leave the first letter to be a lowercase, and every new word that you start after, instead of putting a space in between the 2 words, you can start the next word with just an uppercase letter. So this would say my, and then variable, and then name. The second one would be each word starts with a capital letter. So instead of leaving this one, the first letter as a lowercase, as in the previous example, we would just capitalize all the letters and just remove all the spaces. Snake case is where instead of using a space to separate your words, you can instead use an underscore character to connect the variables into one name, but also sort of add in the space. In my experience, I think I use camel casing the most. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Swali lolote? Mko sawa? but they are fine.
Okay. Next section. Okay. So for this one, let's say you wanted to. Okay, so here you might remember that I did like x equals 5. We created several variables and we assigned several values to these different variables, right? But sometimes this can use up a lot of space, like several different lines, and we might want to just use one line for that. And in that case, we can use this uh, to sort of assign the variables, assign many variables in just one line. You would see that it prints orange and prints banana. And you can also do a similar thing where we assign multiple variables to one value. So instead of saying like x equals orange and then y equals orange and then z equals orange, we can instead just say x equals y equals z equals orange, which saves up a lot of space and lines. So if we ran this code, we would see that it prints orange 3 times. Because all of these variables they store the information, or they store the string orange. Next, we have a new variable type, or not a variable type, a data type called a list. And basically, we call the list fruits. And a list is basically just a collection of things, of data types that we can store. So in this example, we have a list of fruits where basically we're storing the strings apple, banana, and cherry. And if we wanted to create variables for each of the elements inside of fruits, and instead of doing like x equals the first element of fruits, and then y equals the second element of fruits, and then z equals the third element of fruits, we can instead just do this. We can all squeeze it into one line. And what this is going to do is it's not going to make x, uh, it's not going to store this list, this whole list into x. It's actually going to store apple into x, banana into y, and then cherry into z. So I will run the code just to show you right here. So we see that x is apple, y is banana, and z is cherry. Anyone have any questions about that?
question.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to talk about output variables. We already talked about what the print function does, which it basically just prints things into the console. For this example, we see that there are three variables. First one is called x, and it stores the string Python. The second variable is called y, and it stores is. And then the third variable is called z, and it stores awesome. So one way we can sort of like combine these strings and then print Python is awesome is by using commas. And what the comma is going to do is they're going to turn these three variables into one whole string, and then they're going to print Python is awesome. So let's use this as an example. We run the code. You see that it combines all the variables into one line, and it prints Python is awesome. But there's a second way to do this, and that's by doing that's by using the plus sign instead of the comma. But the only difference is that as you can see here, for when we're using a comma, we don't need to add a space after the string. And the reason why is because when we use a comma, it adds a space in between each variable. So we don't have to focus on that. But when we're using a plus sign, we have to add a space at the end because the plus uh, it it directly combines the strings. So let's say we didn't add the space at the end of every variable, and if we ran the code, all the words would be smushed together into one word. But since we don't want that, when we're using a plus sign, we want to add a space at the end of the words, just like that. Any questions so far?
No question.
No questions? Okay.
No.
Hey, they said they don't have any more questions. I think you can move on now.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep, now we can.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Do you think we should go over global variables?
No, I don't think we need to go over global variables.
Yeah.
Because that involves methods and stuff, so we don't want to do that just yet.
Yeah, okay. In that case, we're gonna do some exercises with variables. So in the first exercise, we want to create a variable named car name and then assign the value Volvo to it. So we would have to go into two boxes in order to do that.
Sorry, is it a question to students?
Oh, yes, this is.
Nafanyaje hapo? Eh? Yeah, so they said car name and then in the quotes you write Volvo.
Yes, okay. Yeah, that is correct. Next one, we want to create a variable named x and then assign the value 50 to it.
So x and then after equal sign you write 50.
Yes. I think you guys have the hang of it. So I'm going to sort of go through the exercises and sort of explain them through. So this one says to display the sum of 5 plus 10 using two variables, x and y. So we see here on the second line that we already created a variable y and it stores the information 10. So now we have the variable x and the number 5 left. So we want to do x equals 5. And since we want to display the sum of them, we're going to put the plus sign. And then we're going to say print x plus y. And that's going to print 15. Next exercise, create a variable called z, assign x plus y to it, and then display the result. So for this one, it's pretty simple. We just put z in both boxes. And the reason why is because it tells us to create a variable called z. And the way we do that is by putting the name of the variable at this, before the equal sign. Next one, we want to remove the illegal characters in the variable name. And that's going to be the number 2, because if you remember, we can't start a variable with any numbers. So get rid of that. And we also want to get rid of the dash because we can only have numbers, letters, and underscores in our variable name. So erase that as well. And that should be correct. For this one, I want you guys to answer. So it says insert the correct syntax or symbol to assign the same value to all 3 variables in one code line. So what would we have to put in these 3 boxes? To do x equals orange, y equals orange, and z equals orange.
Plus. So one student says between x and y you put plus, between y and z you put plus, and then between z and orange you put equal sign. Another one? Yeah, the other one said you put equal sign in all the fields.
Okay, are those all the answers that you have, or are there any more students that want to give an answer?
No, I think only those two answers.
Okay. Well, the correct one was actually to put an equal sign in all of them. The reason why is because if you remember earlier, when we're assigning the same value to multiple variables, then we just want to do x equals, y equals, z equals, and then orange. Yeah. Next one, yeah, we skipped this one, so we're not going to do this one. Yeah. So the next section is called Python data types. And earlier we kind of went over the basic three, which if you remember, the first one is the string. Second basic one is an integer. And the third one that we learned about was floats. The fourth one, if you remember, was Boolean. And it's abbreviated by BOOL. So this is Boolean. And Booleans can basically only be true or false. So those are the basic four that for now we want to focus on. We talked about the type function earlier. And basically it's going to give us what type variable is, or what any type of information is. Let's do some exercises on data types. Okay, so the following code example would print the data type of X. What data type would that be?
So integer. Another.
Yes, or int for short. Next, we have this.
String.
Yes.
Float. Wengine vimbona chini. Hawaii pale. So they said float. Okay. Another.
This one I talked about really briefly. So you guys might not know what this one is. Yeah, this is correct. Yeah, we didn't talk about this one, so last one.
knows on that.
No one knows it? Okay. This one I also really briefly talked about, so it's understandable that you guys don't know. But this one is a Boolean, because as I explained earlier, uh, Booleans are either true or false, right? So, give you an example. Um, let's say we wanted to make like a variable called I don't know, like sick. We can either put true inside the variable sick, or we can do false. And sometimes people confuse this for a string because they think if there are letters, then it has to be a string. But that's not true because strings, they have to have single or double quotes around them. But that's not the case here. Right? We don't have single or double quotes. So in this case, it would have to be a Boolean instead of a string. And this is another case where capitalization is really important. Because if you put a lowercase f, it's not going to be recognized as a Boolean. So we're going to see an error. So it has to be capital F or capital T in true. Okay, so that's basically what a Boolean is. Um, Sean, do you think I should finish up here, or what do you think?
Yeah, I feel like you should finish up here instead of stopping somewhere like kind of weird. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions before we leave for today?
There's no question, but so today I will make sure they are all registered to Discord and then they join the channel so that we can have interaction with the students.
Yes. Okay. In that case, I think we can finish today's class. Sean, do you have anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Uh, Guys, don't be afraid to ask questions and don't be afraid to speak up once we do get the Discord up and